read and how to this pasuk of Kime the floor. What does it mean that like the days, like your days of going out in Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders, which is therefore the main thing and which is what's being compared. In the simple reading of the pasuk is trying to tell you, we know how unbelievable Yetzias Mitzrayim was. Since we know how unbelievable Yetzias Mitzrayim was, so therefore, in a similar vein, this is something you could expect is going to happen with the Geula Asidah with Mashiach's coming. That type of interpretation, which seems to be the simple reading of the pasuk, seems to indicate that Yetzias Mitzrayim is the main thing, most powerful thing, and the Geula with Mashiach is something that is related to it, that's compared to it. And this is something that the Rebbe is going to try to explore. Seemingly, the Geula Asidah, it's the final thing. There's no goals after it. It's going to be the greatest revelations. How do you compare something that's greater to something that's lesser? Should be seemingly the other way around. Let's see it inside. Kime says, the floor is like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim. I will show you wonders. Tzarech we need to understand how the Geula Asidah will be so much greater than the redemption of going out of Mitzrayim. And he's going to bring a proof from this, from what we say in the Haggadah. What do we say in the Haggadah? There's a very famous discussion in the Haggadah. Will we say Parshas Vayomer? Will we mention the Yetzias Mitzrayim when Mashiach comes? Says in the brackets, Lafidas Ben Zoyma, according to the opinion of Ben Zoyma, that he said that's brought down the Haggadah, Ein Maskin Yetzias Mitzrayim B'Beis Mashiach. There is no mention of going out of Mitzrayim the days of Mashiach. Why? Because we're holding so much greater than that. The revelation, the Geula Asidah, the occurrence of Geula Asidah is so much of a greater miracle. What significance do you have to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim? But we know there's an alternative opinion. We know that Chachamim say differently. Also, according to the opinion of Chacham, that we will mention, and we will say Parshas Vayomer. We'll mention Yetzias Mitzrayim the days of Mashiach. The fish yesh ma'ila b'Yetzias Mitzrayim gam l'gav Geula Asidah. Because why will we mention it? Because there is a certain advantage. There is something that Yetzias Mitzrayim has that the future redemption doesn't have. Still in all, even according to the opinion of Chachamim, that it does have something special, and because of that, we will mention it still. It's still something that's ancillary to, it's still something that's secondary to the Geula Asidah. Therefore, if according to all views, the Geula from Mitzrayim is not as great, not as powerful as the future redemption of Mashiach, therefore the question is, the Rebbe asked, and then the floor is, what does he say? Like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. The Geula Asidah, that the advantage of the future redemption is also then, in the times of the future redemption, I will show you wonders like it was in Yetzias Mitzrayim. So here it gives a further nuance to this. If the Geula is going to be so great, don't tell me you're going to have things like Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yetzias Mitzrayim is not as great as the things of the Geula Asidah. Why are you telling me you're going to have the type of wonders like the type of wonders you had in Geulas Mitzrayim? It's going to be of a totally different caliber. Why am I going to want to have wonders when Mashiach comes that are similar to the wonders of Mitzrayim? Another thing we have to understand, is very exact in saying, I will show him wonders. So the emphasis on the word showing. The main advantage in the future redemption is not in the wonders themselves that will be then, Ela b'zeh shakadosh baruch hu yaris and the floors, but in the fact that Hashem will show the one, and this idea of showing the wonders is something that wasn't to be found when Yidden went out of Mitzrayim. Then a third question is in Digduk. He seems to be going from what's called the second person to third person. He says, Kimei says, Chomer Mitzrayim, when you go out of Mitzrayim, I will show Arenu, I will show him wonders. How does that fit? Also, we need to understand what it says. I will show him. It says it in third person. Initially, he begins by saying, like your days of going out. In second person, so therefore, if he's following that grammatical type of approach, so it shouldn't have said, it should have said, I will show you wonder. So the Rebbe is going to bring down a Zohar about this. But it says in the Zohar that I will show him wonder. In third person, because I will show him, is referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. So Kimei Teischa is going on Klal Yisrael, and Arenu, I will show him, Moshe Rabbeinu, I will show wonders. But that's not the simple pshat in the pasuk. The simple pshat in the pasuk is that the Navi is telling us that we will witness wonders on our days of going out of this present Golus. So Tzarech Bir, HaKesher, the Pirish Zem, HaPirish Kipshutish, Arenu Klal Yisrael. We need to understand, we need to explain the connection between the explanation of the Zohar that Arenu is going on Moshe Rabbeinu, that I will show Moshe Rabbeinu wonders. You're going out, but what Moshe Rabbeinu will see wonders, with the simple pshat that the Yidden will see wonders, as the Rebbe always is fond of doing. He wants to see the connection of many different explanations, how they fit together, how they are connected with each other. So the same thing over here, he wants to know the connection between the Zohar's explanation that Arenu is going on Moshe Rabbeinu versus the simple meaning in the pasuk that Arenu is going on Klal Yisrael. Now the Rebbe is going to enter into a topic that, especially in the Mugga is a very, very much discussed topic in the Mugga, and that is the advantage and the quality of different types of miracles. Miracles that are enclosed in nature versus miracles that are above nature. And then the Rebbe is going to talk about a third intermediate level. There is there is nature itself, which is hiding miracles that we don't know of that are occurring. Let's see how he explains it. The point of the explanation in the above mentioned question is the Benisim Yesh B'Chlol Shnei Sugim. Miracles in general, there are two types of miracles. Nisim Shalamayel Matevan, miracles are totally beyond and above nature. Nisim Shoyabitzias Mitzrayim, like the miracles that took place when the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim. For example, Apichas Mayim L'Dam, the transformation of water to blood in a few occasions, actually, both when Moshe Rabbeinu appeared before Pari and by Makis Dam, by Adla Nesta Kriyas Yamsuf, till the miracle of the splitting of the sea, that the water was transformed to dry land. So that's one category of miracles beyond nature. Then there's another category of miracles. Miracles that are enclosed in the ways of nature, in the rules of nature. And in the rules of nature itself, there are two types of miracles. One type of miracle is that the garments of nature, that you look at the natural thing, but you see that even though everything is a natural occurrence, but you see there's something going on over here. It's only the natural occurrences are only a garment for something that is beyond nature. For example, like the miracles of Chanukah and Purim, Though they were enclosed in the ways of nature, it was recognizable in a revealed way until all the ends of the earth saw the miracles that's in them. In other words, Purim, as we know, nothing completely miraculous occurred. First, Achashverosh did one thing, then he changed his mind because Esther convinced him and he didn't protect themselves, and they killed their enemy. Nothing supernatural happened. I'm guessing that in Hanukkah he's referring to the wars of Hanukkah, not the menorah being lit in the Beis Hamikdash for 8 days. He's talking about everything else around Hanukkah. That over there, the wars, the Hashmonaim, the battles, even though it was the few against the many, etc., but it was, after all, it was a war. Nobody miraculously, drowned in the sea or whatever. So that is garments of nature, but still in all, if you look at it in the correct perspective, if you put all the details together, you come to the conclusion that the Purim event was guided by Hashem, that the Hanukkah defeats of the Syrian Greeks were guided by the Eibush. Then there's a second level of nest that's enclosed in Teva, in such a way, such a type of garments of nature, that the garments of nature completely conceal the miracle that's enclosed in it. You can't see any inkling of a miracle. You do, and it's known that even though you would ask, someone off the street, what's greater? Miracles beyond nature, like the splitting of the sea, or a miracle of Purim, which is all natural? So a person that's not familiar with this, especially the Rebbe's approach, would say, miracles above nature, sure. Splitting the sea, Marcus, Mitzrayim, that's the highest type of miracle. Miracles enclosed in nature, that's, awesome miracle. But we know that it's the other way around. And the Maimon is going to go on soon to explain why that is. But first, he just establishes that thing that we know that the root of miracles that are higher than nature, that are enclosed in nature, are higher than the root and source in the spiritual realms of Nisim that are enclosed in nature. And then, once we've established this type of distinction, so then we take it even further. Amongst the two types of Nisim that are enclosed in Teva, there's the Nisim that's enclosed in Teva that you could realize that Teva is only a garment. On the other hand, those type of miracles that you don't realize that the Nisim are that the garment is even that the Teva is even a garment, so that's even higher. So he says 4 lines from the bottom of the first page, on the root of miracles that's enclosed in nature, in such a manner that's not recognizable, even that the garments of nature are only a garment, is from an even higher level than even miracles enclosed in nature like Purim, that you could tell that they are really miracles. Much because of, like it says in the pasuk, the oisin neflois gedolos levad. It says loisin neflois gedolos levad kilam chazda. What does it mean? Chazal say a very interesting thing. What's it mean? He does great miracles on his own. What would you think? The Eibishter needs to have help. What's it mean? Loisin neflois gedolos levad. So Chazal said loisin neflois gedolos levad means he does it for himself, meaning only he's aware of it. Chazal said, even the one that's experiencing the miracle is not aware of the miracle that occurred to him. The root of these wonders, that the one who is experiencing the miracle does not recognize his miracle. Is from the level of Levadoi. Now he even says the level that it's from. It's a level that's called levada. So when you're dealing with this type of miracle, a miracle that is you're unaware even that it's a miracle, comes from Hashem's level that's totally, he's all by himself, beyond all types of levels, even beyond the level of the root of miracles that's enclosed in nature, but we recognize. So now the Rebbe connects this with our pasuk. This is the novelty in the fact that and the future redemption there will be. I will show you wonders. What did we say that the idea of the wonders? The wonders, wonders are usually something that only he has. He knows them. But over here, it will be that the Eibusher will show us, top of the next page, because the wonders of the future redemption will come only from Hashem himself. Like Chazal say, Lisha Avar, B'Yitzias Mitzrayim, Ani Ubeis Dini, Hayisim Mahalach Lefneim. When we went out of Mitzrayim, I and my heavenly court were going before them to do what had to be done against the Egyptians. When Mashiach comes, Ani Levadi, I will be alone. Meaning it'll be from such a high level. That's the level where the Niflois Gedolos come from, She'ena Balanes Maka Benisoy, the level of Levadi. The miracles that took place in going on in Mitzrayim came down from the Eibusher via the levels of lower levels called Beis Dinoi, his court. Miracles in the future redemption will be from the Eibusher himself, not via his court, directly from the highest, most level. Which was one of the questions we asked at the beginning. What is the big deal that we're saying, the unique thing? When Mashiach comes, it'll be, I will show you. What's unique about that? Though the wonders that usually come from the Eibusher alone are in such a way that the only one that knows of the miracle is the Eibusher himself, the Kalmakim still in all Yiyad and the flies, it'll be in a way that will show wonders. It will be visible in a revealed way, the miracle. So even though normally the less visible the miracle is, the higher the level is, and consequently, as a result of that, the other way is the higher or the more revealed the miracle, a lesser level it's coming from. When Mashiach comes, we'll have the joining of both. Our Enu and Niflois, we'll have the highest, most level, the level of Levadi, the most highest level of miracle, which normally is not revealed at all, will be in a way of revelation of Enu. Any questions before we go on? Okay, second paragraph, second page, is base. It's known the exact expression that it says. And the question about it, why does it say the days of your going, like the days of your going out of the land of Mitzrayim? We say it in the plural days, should have said, like your day going out of Mitzrayim. You're going out of Mitzrayim was in one day. And we actually do refer to it as a one-day event. And in remembering the going out of Mitzrayim, when the Torah tells us, remember the day you went out of Mitzrayim, it says, remember this day that you went out of Mitzrayim. And another place where it talks about remembering, it says also, so that you should remember the day you went out of the land of Mitzrayim. It doesn't say days. When it compares the future redemption to Yitzias Mitzrayim, it says like the days in the plural. Why is it referred to days? So the Rebbe says, we can say the explanation this is to be Yitzias Mitzrayim Nichol Gam Kriyas Yams. in going out of Mitzrayim is included also the splitting of the sea. The Rebbe says, so what about the mitzvah of Zocher Yom Tzeis Chomer Mitzrayim? Remember the day you went out of Mitzrayim. So then, if Yetzias Mitzrayim includes also the splitting of the sea, so then we should say the same thing. Zocher Yemei Tzeis as Yemei Tzeis Chomer Mitzrayim, etc. Why does it say it only in singular? So he says, he says in the bracket, so too, it's in the mitzvah of remembering Mitzrayim daily, that it's also included in it, that's also included in the remembering of Kriyas Yams. Because, like the Rebbe says in footnote 16, because up until the splitting of the sea, even though geographically they had left Mitzrayim, but still in all, the fear of Mitzrayim was still with them, and he sent spies along with the Yidden until the Yam Suf. The mitzvah to be Mitzrayim below Pesach. How do we see then the remembrance of Yitzias Mitzrayim every day is included? Kriyas Yam Suf, because even when we relate the story of Yitzias Mitzrayim on the night of Pesach, we don't just stick to the event that took place on the 15th of Nisan. We go on further as well. Whoever adds and increases in telling over the story of going out of Mitzrayim, he is praiseworthy. Also the relating of the splitting of the sea is also included in this as well. So therefore, this is even the mitzvah of Zachar, we also have the inclusion of Kriyas Yam Suf. The Rebbe says an interesting thing, that after the Parsha of Vayomer, he says in footnote 17, after the Parsha of Vayomer, we find, actually beforehand, this in footnote 19, the Rebbe points out that it's not just we mention Kriyas Yam Suf and Haggadah. We actually go on at length about how many makis they had, and the whole discussion that they have X amount of makis alayam, that they have 250 makis alayam. So that's also part of the Haggadah telling. So it's also part of Yitzias Mitzrayim. And the Rebbe says, and the Rebbe also brings down in footnote 17 that in halacha we have the chiyuv of saying Parshat Vayomer because Parshat Vayomer mentions Yitzias Mitzrayim. But that's not enough. There's a mitzvah to also remember in Emes V'Yatziv, in the Birchas Krishma, after the conclusion of Krishma, going out of Mitzrayim and the splitting of the sea. Because it's brought down in the Mefarshim on the Tosefta, where it's taken from, because that Kriyas Yam Suf is the conclusion of the Geula in Mitzrayim. So, the Rebbe goes on to say, that's why it says, like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, days in the plural, because the days, in the simple sense, what we're talking about it now, includes not just the 15th of Nisan, but also includes the 21st of Nisan, the 7th day of Pesach, Shvi Shal Pesach. That's why it says Kime. So the Rebbe says, hold on. So then why don't we say the same thing, the plural, by Yom Tzeis? So he says further in the brackets, and why, when it says the mitzvah, remember going out of Mitzrayim, the day, it says in the singular, not like the day, since there's a mitzvah to remember not just the days of the day of Tesvav, but also we have to remember Kriyas Yam Suf. Primary mitzvah of remembering going out of Mitzrayim is the remembrance of going out of Mitzrayim itself. If a person does not mention the splitting of the sea, that's not ma'akiv, that's not something that you have to, if a person didn't do it, he's still yoytz to the mitzvah of Chiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. And the Rebbe in the footnote brings down the halacha and the Alter Rebbe Shechonara, that if a person has a doubt, he doesn't know if he read Parshas Vayomer he has to go back and read it again. Why? Because in part, the reason why we established parts of Vayomer, like we said before, because of the mitzvah of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. And mitzvah of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim is a mitzvah deraisa, and something deraisa l'chumra. When there's a Torah doubt, so then we have to be machmer and say it over again. But the Alter Rebbe says, if we have a doubt or a person doesn't know if you said emes v'yatziv, so there he doesn't have to go back. Because emes v'yatziv is only a rabbinic doubt, and the rabbinic doubt we know is lakula. So if we would say there's a Torah obligation to remember Kriyas Yamsuf every day, and that's included in Zochar Yom Mitzrayim, so then you'd have to go back again and say it again if you missed it, because then it would be a doubt of a Torah obligation. So from this we see that the Kriyas Yamsuf is not something that is it's only ancillary, and therefore if a person forgets, it's not something that it's not something that you have to go back to the text, 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Now, to explain our pasuk, once we've established that Kimei says is referring to not just the night of Tesvav, but it's also referring to Kriyas Yamsuf. Pirish Kimei says and the flows and explanation where it says like your days going out of the land of Mitzrayim, I will show him wonders. Is Geula Sida Yu on Nisim on the flows Jahoyu be Tzias Mitzrayim Atzma the Gama Nesva Pella the Kriyas Yamsuf. In the future redemption, there'll be both. There'll be both the miracles of going out of Mitzrayim itself, and also the miracle and wonder of the splitting of the sea. And there's actually an open pasuk, an explicit pasuk that says it. That says that Hashem will utterly destroy and dry up the tongue of the sea of Mitzrayim. And there will be a path for the Yidden to cross it. Like the Yidden would had in the day that they went up from the land of Mitzrayim. So we see clearly that the Yidden have in the time of their going, in times of Mashiach, the same type of event that took place in the time of Mitzrayim. The miracles of Mitzrayim, the miracles of Yamsuf. Now the Rebbe says with Tzarchel Havam, we need to understand. We need to understand the connection of both things. In the like the days of you going out of Mitzrayim, I will show you wonders. First of all, we learned from this pasuk is that even those miracles that are coming from Levade, that are coming from the highest level, that are normally not at all visible, will be visible. That's one point that the pasuk is saying. And another point that the pasuk says, then the wonders that will be in the future redemption, there'll also be the wonder of the splitting of the sea. They're part of the same pasuk. They're talking about the same thing that will happen in Mashiach's time. So the Rebbe wants to know what is the connection between them. Why are they the same pasuk? Obviously, they're related to each other. That the wonders of Mashiach's times will be, despite they're such a high level, they'll be visible, and that the wonders of Mashiach's times will also include wonders like Kriyas Yamsuf. What's the connection between these two ideas in the pasuk that Rebbe asks? Okay, we'll stop over here. Any questions?